Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of our World Talks here on TVP World. I'm your host, Benjamin Lee, and please join me and my guests on this next interview. Global markets saw heavy losses following President Donald Trump's new tariffs over the weekend. The Warsaw Stock Exchange also halted trading for an hour on Monday, citing, quote, a security of trading. Now, these turmoil has raised recession fears and affected economies across Central and Eastern Europe. The developments have raised concerns about a potential global recession and have impacted the economies of the region. Joining us today on TVP World to shed light on these pressing issues is Professor Witold Orłowski, esteemed economist at Vistula University. Professor Orłowski has an extensive background in economic policy and has served as chief economic advisor for PricewaterhouseCoopers in Poland, bringing us invaluable insights into the current economic landscape. Hello, sir, and welcome to TVP World.
Welcome.
So a quick thing that I want to ask you, because we saw the Warsaw Stock Exchange closed for an hour today. Does that have anything to do with these tariff announcements?
Well, we don't know exactly. I mean, it's a standard behavior that if something dangerous is happening on the market, then sometimes the quotations are stopped for some time just to let everybody cool down. I do not know exactly. Was it really the reason behind today's Warsaw behavior? I would rather doubt, because I guess it was rather something connected with the broadly speaking security issues. However, in any case, even if it's not true, it in a sense reflects the mood that is today on the global stock exchanges.
Right, and I think mood is a very good way to describe it, because we are seeing people keeping a very close eye on the stock market, which is still plummeting as we speak. Can you help us understand just how significant of an impact these tariffs are?
Well, the problem is we do not know. We can only be afraid of the effect that may appear. Everything depends on, first, what will be the scale of the... we've got this first information from President Trump. We still wait. Is it the beginning of some kind of negotiation or not? Today we've heard from President Trump some really, I would say, sorry to say, about absurd demands that he can talk with the Union, with Europe. If Europe eliminates the VAT tax, VAT tax is a basic sales tax, like in the United States, and obviously it's not applied to imports from the United States. It applies to all the goods sold in the country. And it's the major source of revenue of all the government. So it's as a demand, it's absurd. The point is that we don't know what does it mean. Mm-hmm. If it means that Mr. Trump is not willing to negotiate any reduction of his moves, then it means already bad thing happened, with already probably bad effect on the global economy, and then we are waiting for the follow-up. What will be the reaction of Europe? What will be the reaction of China? We know already that China reacted very angrily to what Mr. Trump did, and announced already that China will use some very painful countermeasures. In the case of Europe, the European Union is much more moderate in words, basically trying to avoid what is being called the trade war, because if there are the tariffs or any tool increased by the US, by the trade partners of the United States, then President Trump is already telling, but he will punish everybody by even further increase of his tariffs. We don't know what will be the end of this story. I mean, are we seeing the beginning of the worldwide, let's call it World War III, but this time economic World War, that may be dramatic, that may have dramatic consequences for the whole global economy? or not, or everything will be just an unpleasant shock that will be somehow absorbed later. So the worst thing that the stock exchanges hates actually is the uncertainty, and here we are in the middle of an uncertainty. We know already bad things happening, but the stock exchange just hates. I mean, the bad things are happening, and the stock exchange are normally capable of in a sense, including it in prices and of assets and that's it. But what the market hates is just this lack of clarity. What will be later? What will be the effect? Is it the end of the story or is it the beginning of the story? Are we threatened with some negative effect on the growth in many countries of the world, negative effect on the inflation in many countries, including the United States, obviously. If so, then okay, it would mean obviously lower prices of stocks. But on the other hand, there is always a question, and maybe this is just the beginning. Maybe this is the outbreak of the world war, the economic world war. And if so, then the results may be dramatic. Obviously, including the results for the United States, because President Trump doesn't seem to be aware of the fact that if there's a trade war, the United States will suffer as much as the rest of the world.
Right, like I mentioned, there's a lot of uncertainty still unaccounted for, and when it comes to uncertainty, we can usually see that being reflected in the stock market, which is perhaps contributing to what we're seeing right now. Now, recently, JP Morgan has raised the global recession probability to a whopping 60%. How vulnerable do you think the Central Eastern European region is compared globally?
Well, frankly speaking, we are not in the worst situation globally. The European Union has not been punished the most. I mean, China has got, since the beginning of Mr. Trump's rule, the tariffs on the Chinese goods have increased by more than 50%. In the case of Europe, it's only 20%, so plus 25 on cars, so definitely less. Secondly, Europe, well, let's not forget about that. Europe is all an economic power, the European Union. So this is not only the story that the European Union is to capitulate, accept everything, take all the pain, and cannot do anything. I mean, still we are talking about the one of the three biggest top economies in the world, top markets in the world. So as members of the European Union, we are obviously safer than many countries for which it really brings about a risk of economic drama. For Mexico, for maybe Canada, for Vietnam, for some countries in Far East that are pretty much dependent on the trade with the United States. Here in Europe, we are dependent. Let's say our moods are pretty much dependent because Germany is a big exporter to the United States, especially the German cars are famous exports to the United States. And so that means that the problem for us is that the tariffs increased by Mr. Trump may make the German mood to stay very low for a longer period of time. Germany has been for 2 years in a recession, and everybody was kind of hoping on the improvement over the next couple of months. Now it seems that the chances of improvement of the mood in Germany are rather small, if existent at all. So what will be the main effect for Central and Eastern European countries of the tariffs is most likely more unfriendly environment and slower growth. Some countries in the region are exposed more than the others. Slovakia, who is the world champion in the car production per capita and having quite a lot of the export of cars to the United States from the big multinational companies producing the cars in Slovakia, may suffer the most. Maybe Hungary as well, the Czech Republic to a smaller degree, Poland to a smaller degree. So I wouldn't say that for a country like Poland it's a drama, but it's definitely a bad. It's a kind of bad news for Poland, probably meaning slower growth. We expected the growth in Poland to be around 3%. Now, I would say 2%, maybe 1.5% seems to be more plausible. Poland, it is not likely that Poland will land in a recession, but a slower growth because of the recession in Germany is quite likely, unfortunately. Our export to the United States are not big, really, some $15 billion, but indirectly, we can be hurt by the fall of the German exports to the United States. And let's not forget, there is also the security issue. Mr. Trump now is working basically on the economic front, and he seems to be extremely hostile to the European Union. And the point is, what does it mean for the politics, for the basic security of Europe? The NATO, Ukraine, Russia story will also have to take it into account. For the time being, definitely nothing like that is included in this market assessment of the situation. And let's cross the fingers that it will never be. But we still must remember that there is also the issue here. If Mr. Trump is telling that he will make Europe pay him, as he said, big money for the past and for the future, we don't know exactly what does he mean. What does he mean? So and that's something going well behind just the increase of tariffs.
Right. The Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk has recently came out and reassured everyone that, Poland will be able to persevere, citing Poland's consistent stability when it comes to its economy. Do you share this optimism that even if Poland is to be impacted, it's perhaps not going to be as dramatic compared to some of the other countries?
Well, yes, I guess so. I guess that the majority of the EU countries are a relatively safe situation. Means slower growth is a problem for everybody, but there's still a difference between a slower growth or any economic catastrophe or something like that some countries in the world may be facing now. So I would agree that we shouldn't be in panic in Europe, especially in Central and Eastern Europe, as far as the American tariffs are concerned. Obviously, this is a piece of bad news for us from the point of view of the growth prospects. Means we most likely will have to accept the fact that the growth will be slower than we previously expected. But I wouldn't say that there is any reason to be in panic in Poland.
Right. Thank you so much for your input and insight and a little bit of reassurance. And thanks for being with us on TVP World. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Cheers. And thank you for tuning into this edition of our World Talks. But for more news, update, and commentary, please stay tuned to TVP World.